The Apache was beaten and left to die in the desert, until one rancher made a brave choice. The twin suns of Korath burned bright against the pale desert below, casting long shadows over the floating outpost of Iron Spire. The metal structure, half station and half trading hub, hovered above the sands on magnetic pillars, its walkways clanking with every step of merchants and travelers. Dust swirled endlessly below, kicked up by the occasional hover vehicle making its way across the barren planet. Jace Corvin rode into the hub atop his sleek hover saddle rig, a machine built for speed and endurance rather than show. He traveled for days from the nearest inhabited planet, carrying a load of trade goods, simple items like food rations, mining tools, and fuel cells. It was supposed to be routine. Drop off the cargo, check the ledgers, and leave without trouble. But Iron Spire had a way of making ordinary men notice things they shouldn't. As Jace dismounted, the metallic hum of his rig fading into the constant buzz of the outpost, his eyes caught a figure near the central docking bay. A woman stood there, her presence quiet yet undeniable. She didn't move like most traders or travelers who hurried with lists and crates. She moved as if she were a part of the air itself, unhurried, watching and waiting. Her hair shone like silver threads catching the sunlight, falling past her shoulders in loose waves. Her eyes, Jace would never forget them, were a deep cobalt, bright and clear, as if they held the calm of the twin suns themselves. And when her gaze met his, something in him shifted. He had seen many people in his travels. Merchants, miners, explorers, bounty hunters, but never anyone like her. Jace shook his head slightly, trying to dismiss the sudden tightness in his chest. It's just a woman, a stranger, he told himself. He had a job to do. Trade goods didn't wait for daydreams. But the pull remained, subtle and persistent, as if the station itself nudged him closer to her. The woman held a small object in her hands, cradled carefully. It hummed softly, a sound almost too quiet for human ears but impossible to ignore in the silence between the station's mechanical groans. It was shaped like a crystal, but it seemed alive, pulsing with a light that moved under its surface like liquid silver. A nearby merchant, older and wary, noticed Jace staring. "Careful, stranger," the man whispered. "That's Leora Vey. Came from beyond the Veil Gate. Nobody knows what she carries or why she's here. Some say she's trouble. Some say she's something else. Worse." Jace frowned, curiosity igniting where caution should have ruled. He approached the woman slowly, each step careful and measured. He had traveled across systems dealing with strange people and stranger devices, but even he felt a flicker of unease standing near her. Not fear, just anticipation. Something about her presence demanded attention. "Looking to trade?" Jace asked, keeping his voice steady. He extended a hand as if it were a simple greeting, though he suspected she wasn't here for the usual kind of commerce. Leora's lips curved into a faint smile, just enough to seem polite but not enough to give away her thoughts. She tilted her head, considering him, her cobalt eyes scanning him in a way that made him feel seen and exposed, all at once. "I'm not here for trade," she said softly, her voice smooth and clear, carrying a musical quality that seemed to echo slightly in the metal space of the docking bay. "Not yet. But you might find that your presence matters anyway." Jace blinked. He had expected traders to brush him off, to bargain sharply and move on. But this was different. Much different. "What do you mean?" he asked, his curiosity stronger than any desire to leave immediately. She didn't answer directly. Instead, she moved, gliding past the docking bay's railings toward a quieter section of the outpost. "Come," she said simply. "If you want to understand, follow me." Jace hesitated. The rational part of his mind argued that he should focus on his trade, check in with the guild, and leave before complications arose. But something in her pull, something impossible to name, made him follow. The corridors of Iron Spire were narrow and winding, a labyrinth of metal and glass that caught the harsh sunlight in sharp angles. Traders hustled past, carrying crates, lists, and digital tablets. Some glanced curiously at Leora, whispering under their breaths. But no one stopped her. No one dared. She led him to a hangar at the far end of the station where a single ship hovered silently above magnetic anchors. It was unlike any Jace had ever seen. Sleek, elongated, and smooth, the ship seemed almost organic, as if it had grown instead of being built. Its surface shimmered faintly, reflecting the twin suns in fractured patterns. "This is the Star Strider," she said, gesturing at the ship with one gloved hand. "And what I carry inside could change many things, if handled incorrectly." Jace stepped closer, examining the ship and the humming crystal in her hand. Change many things. Like how? Leora's gaze softened slightly, but her expression remained unreadable. Some things, she said, are meant to be discovered slowly, and some people are meant to be trusted slowly. You, Jace Corvin, are one of the few who might understand. The words made him tense. How did she know his name? And why did it matter to her that he understand anything? Jace had spent his life relying on caution, on trading only what he could control. Yet standing here, in a quiet hangar above a desert planet, he felt the weight of the unknown pressing in on him. Look, she said, handing him the crystal. It responds to intention. Focus on what you wish to know, or who you trust. Jace hesitated. His instincts screamed to put it down, to avoid the unknown. But curiosity won. Carefully he held the crystal. A warmth spread through his fingers, soft and welcoming. Images flickered in his mind, a desert stretching beyond imagination, a city floating above the clouds, and flashes of people, some smiling, some fearful, some lost. He looked at Leora, startled. What is this? It's a memory of sorts, she said. A glimpse of what has been and what could be. Not all is meant to be seen. That's why I am here, to guide what is handled carefully. Jace nodded slowly, realizing that he was no longer just a trader. This wasn't a routine stop. This was a beginning, one that he hadn't expected and couldn't fully comprehend. And somehow it all started with her gaze, her presence, the quiet hum of a crystal that defied explanation. For the first time in years, Jace felt a thrill he hadn't known in the cold routines of trade routes. Something had changed in him. One look had changed everything. Leora studied him carefully. Tomorrow the guild will want answers, she said softly. And so will others. But for now, rest. You will need your mind sharp. Jace nodded again, still holding the crystal. Rest, he muttered to himself. But sleep would not come easily. The twin suns of Korath were already setting, painting the outpost in gold and bronze, and every shadow seemed to whisper of mysteries waiting beyond the horizon. As he lay down in the small quarters of Iron Spire, Jace thought of Leora, the strange pull she carried, the Star Strider hovering silently in the hangar, and the crystal humming softly in his hand. Tomorrow he would have to face questions he did not yet understand. But tonight he could only feel the strange certainty that nothing in his life, no trade, no journey, no solitude, would ever be the same again. And somewhere in the quiet hum of Iron Spire the crystal pulsed once more, as if in agreement. The next morning the twin suns of Korath rose slowly over the desert, painting Iron Spire in soft gold and shadow. Jace Corvin woke with the hum of the station still lingering in his mind. The crystal rested carefully on the small table beside his bed, glowing faintly in the dawn light. He reached for it instinctively, feeling the warmth spread through his fingers as it had the night before. He had spent the early hours thinking about Leora and the Star Strider. Something told him that the woman, the ship, and the crystal were all connected in ways he could not yet understand. And yet, despite his better judgment, curiosity pulled him forward. By the time he stepped into the hangar, Leora was already there. The Star Strider floated silently above its magnetic anchors, its surface shimmering as if breathing in the sunlight. Leora's silver hair glimmered in the morning rays, and her cobalt eyes held a quiet intensity that made Jace pause. "You're early," she said softly, noting his careful approach. "Or maybe you couldn't sleep." Maybe both," Jace replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "I keep thinking about what you showed me last night. And this ship, it's nothing like anything I've seen before." Leora smiled faintly. "Most people haven't. That's why it's best handled with care." She gestured toward the open ramp of the Star Strider. "Come. I want to show you something." Inside the ship was astonishing. Sleek metal walls reflected a soft ambient light. Panels of translucent crystal ran along the floors and ceilings, pulsing faintly in response to footsteps. It smelled faintly of ozone and warm metal, clean and alive. But the most intriguing part was the cargo bay. It was small but packed with objects unlike anything Jace had ever seen. Crystals, cubes, spheres, and tools, each one softly glowing, humming, or vibrating as if awake. Some floated slightly above the floor, responding to unseen forces. Others seemed to react to Leora's presence, shifting or aligning themselves when she moved. "Everything here is alive?" Jace asked, stepping closer. "In a way," Leora replied. "They aren't alive as you know life. They respond to intention, emotion, and memory. Some can store thoughts, others can change perception, and a few can guide people through places they've never been." Jace's brow furrowed. Places they've never been? She handed him a small cube, no bigger than a fist. This one can create a map of memory. Think of a place, a person, or a moment in time. The cube shows it in a way that words cannot. Jace turned it in his hands. The surface shimmered, and suddenly he saw a vision. A long-forgotten market on a distant planet, the faces of people he had never met, and the sound of laughter echoing faintly. When he blinked, it was gone, replaced by the soft glow of the cube in his palm. "Whoa," he whispered. "This is incredible." "It is," Leora said, her voice calm but firm, "and dangerous if handled without thought. The guild won't like what we're carrying. They want only standard goods, not this." Jace looked up. "The guild? The traders and officials who run Iron Spire," she explained. "They maintain order, or at least they try. Anyone who brings unusual cargo raises suspicion. And unusual cargo can create panic if misunderstood." Jace nodded, thinking about the murmurs he had overheard the day before. So what do we do? Handle it carefully, keep it contained, and choose who to trust." She paused, her gaze locking with his. "Like I said yesterday, Jace Corvin, one look can change everything." "Sometimes. It already has." Jace swallowed, feeling the weight of her words. He didn't fully understand what she meant, but he sensed it was important. He also knew he couldn't turn back now. Curiosity and something deeper he didn't yet name had taken hold. They spent the day cataloging the cargo. Leora demonstrated each item: a sphere that could replay emotions from past events, a crystal that reflected possibilities of the future, a prism that showed thoughts people hid even from themselves. Jace handled some of them, marveling at the gentle hum, the soft warmth, or the subtle vibrations that seemed almost like a heartbeat. By mid-afternoon, the trading guild began to notice unusual activity. Inspectors walked the hangar, their eyes scanning the unusual cargo, whispering to each other, and sending small hovering drones to scan the items. Jace noticed them first. "Guild inspectors," he muttered. "They'll want to know what we're doing here." Leora nodded. "Yes. But there's no reason to panic. We handle them with care, we answer only the questions necessary, and we stay calm. Curiosity's different from threat." When the inspectors arrived, Leora stepped forward, calm and composed. "I am Leora Vey," she said smoothly. "This cargo is part of a private research project. Everything is safe. No danger to the station or its inhabitants." The inspectors exchanged skeptical looks, but Leora remained unflinching. Jace stood nearby, quietly supporting her presence with his own calm demeanor. The guild was used to ordinary traders, not someone who commanded attention without words or weapons. One inspector raised an eyebrow. "And you, sir?" he asked, looking at Jace. "Are you responsible for this cargo as well?" "I'm assisting," Jace said, his voice steady. "I'm just here to help ensure everything is handled properly, nothing more." The inspector frowned but did not push further. After a tense moment, he signaled the drones to continue their scan, then nodded to his colleagues. "We'll be watching. Any unusual activity will be reported." As they left, Jace exhaled, feeling the tension drain from his shoulders. "That was close," he said, glancing at Leora. "Close?" she asked with a faint smile. "It was barely a ripple. They test boundaries. Nothing more. True challenges come from the unknown, not curiosity." Jace frowned. "The unknown, like this cargo?" "Exactly," she said, eyes glinting. "Or like the choices we make in response to it." Later, as the suns began to dip toward the horizon, painting the desert sands in crimson and gold, Jace and Leora stood outside the Starstrider. The hum of the ship blended with the whisper of the wind through the outpost. Jace still held the small cube, turning it over in his hands, watching visions flicker across its surface. "You ever think about why you do what you do?" Leora asked suddenly. Jace looked at her. "Sometimes. But usually, I just survive, trade, and move on. Life isn't fancy, not for a trader." She tilted her head, and yet, here you are. Following me, handling these items, stepping into questions you cannot answer. "I don't know why," Jace admitted. "I just felt like I had to, like I couldn't turn away." "That is the first step," Leora said softly. "Curiosity without fear opens doors. Fear without curiosity locks them." For a long moment they stood in silence, the hum of the Starstrider mingling with the distant clatter of the station. Jace realized something. He wasn't just intrigued by the cargo, the ship, or even Leora herself. He was drawn to the unknown, and to the possibility that his life could mean more than trade routes and dusty planets. Then, suddenly, a subtle vibration ran through the Star Strider. The ship responded to something unseen, shifting slightly above its anchors. Leora's eyes widened. "The rift," she whispered. Jace frowned. "Rift? Farther in the desert," she explained. "A temporal anomaly. It opens only occasionally, and very few survive encounters with it. My cargo, my work, it's connected to it. And now, it seems, it's awake." Jace felt a shiver, not fear, but anticipation. His life as a trader had ended the moment he stepped into Iron Spire. Now the unknown stretched before him like a road he couldn't avoid, and he didn't want to. Leora turned to him, her expression unreadable but firm. "We will need to prepare. What happens next could change more than just our lives. It could change the balance of this station, maybe even the stars beyond." Jace nodded. He did not fully understand, but he trusted her. One look had already changed everything, and now every step seemed to pull him further into something far greater than trade. The suns dipped lower, casting long shadows across Iron Spire. Jace felt the hum of the crystal in his pocket, the pull of the Star Strider, and the quiet insistence of Leora's gaze. He had arrived to trade. He would leave changed, though he didn't yet know how. And somewhere, far beyond the desert sands, the rift shimmered like liquid silver, waiting. The heat of Korath's twin suns burned low over the desert as Jace Corvin and Leora Vey prepared the Star Strider for flight. The rift had appeared again, shimmering like molten silver above the distant sands. Its shifting edges distorted light, and Jace could feel it calling in a way that was more than sound or sight. It tugged at something deeper. "This isn't just a storm or a dust whirl," Leora said, her voice steady. "It's a temporal anomaly, a rift in space-time. We can't ignore it." Jace nodded. "And the cargo? The crystals, the cube, everything?" "They respond to it," Leora said. "Some are drawn to it. Others can stabilize it. We need both to go near it. Carefully." They mounted the Star Strider, the ship hovering effortlessly above the hangar's magnetic anchors. Jace had never felt a connection to a machine like this. As the controls responded to their thoughts, he realized the Star Strider was almost alive, sensitive to intent, awareness, and focus. Flying over the desert toward the rift, Jace felt the hum of the crystals inside the cargo bay. The cube in his hands pulsed gently, reflecting shifting visions of the rift, flashes of travelers lost in time loops, cities folded over themselves, and fleeting glimpses of memories he didn't recognize. "Careful," Leora warned, sensing his attention drifting too far. "Focus. The rift is not just a phenomenon. It responds to mind, heart, and hesitation." As they approached, the rift seemed to stretch, widening its silver veil like a living doorway. Jace could see shapes within it, figures frozen in moments, landscapes folding over each other, memories trapped in suspended time. The sensation was dizzying. "It's beautiful," Jace whispered, unable to look away, "and terrifying." Leora's hand hovered over the console, guiding the Star Strider closer. "Beautiful, yes, but unstable. One wrong thought or impulse, and even we could be caught inside, our memories or minds trapped." The ship drifted closer, and the first wave of influence hit them. Time seemed to slow, the hum of the Star Strider deepening, the crystal pulsing more urgently. Jace's mind flickered with visions of past traders, of Iron Spire itself, and even of his own childhood, a memory he hadn't thought about in years, a small smile shared with his younger brother over a crate of tools, now folded into the shifting light of the rift. He blinked rapidly, trying to stay focused. "Leora, it's pulling at my memories. I can feel it. I see people, places, things I don't know. That's why we need the cargo," she said calmly. "Some items stabilize the rift, creating a safe path through it. Others can record or reflect what happens inside. Together, they act like a bridge between reality and the unknown." Jace nodded. He placed the cube carefully in a containment panel. Other crystals floated into the panel as well, responding to Leora's guidance. The Star Strider hummed louder, its hull pulsing with energy as it neared the anomaly. Suddenly, a flash of silver light stretched across the cockpit. Shapes moved within the rift, travelers frozen mid-step, echoes of voices whispering faintly, images of cities long gone or yet to come. Jace reached out, feeling the pull on his mind, his heart. "This is it," Leora said softly. "The core. We stabilize it, or everything nearby could be altered." Jace swallowed hard. "Altered? How?" Memories shift, intentions twist. Even time itself bends. People can get trapped forever if they aren't careful. That's why the guild fears it, but it's not evil. It's a force. It needs guidance. Working together, they move the crystals in the cube in perfect synchronization, letting their thoughts guide the items. Jace focused on clarity, memories he wanted to preserve, feelings of trust and honesty. Leora guided intention towards stabilization, her cobalt eyes steady on the swirling rift. The rift reacted. Its silver surface rippled like liquid mercury, gradually slowing, stabilizing. Jace glimpsed the travelers inside, some frozen, some wandering endlessly in loops, but the light softened, and he could sense relief spreading across the trapped visions. For a brief moment, the rift hung perfectly still, suspended like a glass dome. Jace felt a rush of triumph, but it was short-lived. "A choice is coming," Leora said. "The rift is offering an opening. One of us can step through and reach the core directly, but only one at a time. The decision, it will change us." Jace's stomach tightened. "One at a time?" "Yes," Leora said. "The Starstrider can guide, but the rift itself will respond to who enters. Fear, doubt, hesitation, it will magnify. Only clarity and intention can succeed." Jace looked at her, the same calm determination she always carried. One look at her before, and everything had already begun to change. Now he understood. The rift didn't just alter space and time. It challenged the heart. "I'll go," he said after a pause. Leora shook her head gently. "No, I've been trained for this. I know the core. You stay here. You guide the crystals. Focus your mind. Keep the path open." Jace nodded reluctantly. Trusting her was easy. Acting on instinct was harder. She moved toward the rift, stepping carefully into the silver light. The Starstrider systems aligned around her, projecting stability, and she vanished into the shifting glow. Time stretched. Jace's mind hummed in synchronization with the crystals. He could feel the rift's pull, but he held steady. The Starstrider's hum provided balance, anchoring him as Leora navigated the impossible currents inside. Minutes or hours passed. Jace could feel every shift, every flicker. Then a sudden pulse rocked the Starstrider. Leora emerged, holding a small crystal shard glowing with soft light. She was smiling, tired but triumphant. "The core is stable, for now," she said. "The rift will continue to exist, but it won't harm travelers nearby. The memories inside. Some are released, some remain for guidance. But the danger is managed." Jace exhaled, feeling the tension drain from his shoulders. "You did it." I don't even know how to describe what I just felt." Leora nodded. "Descriptions are secondary to understanding. You've learned patience, focus, trust." "That's more important than words." Jace looked at her, realizing that one look had changed him, and the rift, and maybe even the Starstrider itself. Everything was shifting. Forever. The desert sands below glimmered as the sun set, and for the first time Jace understood that the unknown was not something to fear. It was a path to something greater. And as the Starstrider drifted back toward Iron Spire, he felt the pull of the next journey. One look had changed everything, and now the stars themselves seemed to be calling. The suns of Korath had dipped below the horizon, leaving Iron Spire bathed in the soft violet light of dusk. Jace and Leora walked across the floating station's corridors, the hum of the Starstrider quiet beside them. The rift had been stabilized, the crystals safely stored, and yet the weight of what they had just experienced lingered in the air. "Do you ever wonder what else is out there?" Jace asked, watching the lights of distant planets twinkle faintly beyond the station's edges.
Leora tilted her head.
"Every day. But the stars reveal themselves slowly, and only to those who are ready to see." Jace nodded. He had always been a simple trader, moving from outpost to outpost, keeping his life predictable. But now, the predictable had vanished. The rift, the crystals, the Starstrider, it was all bigger than him, and yet he felt capable in a way he had never imagined. That night, the station quiet, except for the soft hum of engines and distant chatter, they reviewed the Starstrider's systems. Every crystal, cube, and prism was catalogued, secured, and monitored. Each responded differently to the rift's energy, and Jace marveled at the subtle shifts in their glow. "You handled the crystals well," Leora said softly. "Not everyone could do that." Jace smiled faintly. "I had a good teacher." Leora returned the smile just slightly. There was warmth there, but it carried something deeper. Trust, respect, and a quiet acknowledgement of shared experience. "Tomorrow we return to the guild," she said. "They'll have questions, and there will always be others curious about the rift. But for now, we rest. Rest was easier said than done. Jace lay in his quarters watching the stars beyond the window. He thought of the travelers inside the rift, some released, some left behind as guidance for future explorers. He thought of the memories reflected in the cube, the echoes of countless lives, preserved and protected. And he thought of Leora. Morning came with the hum of activity as the station prepared for another day. Jace and Leora entered the guild's chambers, where inspectors and officials were waiting. Their faces were curious, skeptical, and a little wary.
Leora spoke first. The rift is stabilized.
No danger remains. All unusual items have been secured. You may inspect as needed. The guild members murmured among themselves, but after a careful review they nodded. They could not fully understand what had occurred, but they could see the results. The station remained safe, the travelers were unharmed, and the cargo behaved predictably under supervision. Jace realized that this was more than a victory over a rift or a challenge. It was proof that curiosity, trust, and calm determination could achieve what force or fear never could. Later, standing beside the Starstrider, Jace looked at Leora. "I came here to trade," he said softly. "But I'm leaving," changed. Leora's eyes met his. "So are the stars," she replied. "So are the stars." The Starstrider lifted off, its hull shimmering with the soft pulse of the crystals inside. Jace felt the hum beneath his feet, the pull of the unknown, and a quiet excitement. They had stabilized a rift, preserved countless memories, and learned that one look, one choice, could change everything. And as they drifted beyond the lights of Iron Spire, across the silent desert and into the vast stretches of Korath's twin suns, Jace understood that the frontier was not just a place, it was an endless journey of discovery, trust, and wonder. The stars beckoned, the rift lay quiet for now, and somewhere deep inside Jace felt the thrill of the unknown. One look had changed everything, and nothing would ever be the same again.